it's time for us to fight just a little bit with the OGs, Brian. Just a little bit. Because the question I want to ask is, does seeding even matter in the first place? And for some people viewing this, they might think like, oh, what, obviously, or what? Look, it is a conversation of contention. There are some people out there who feel like, yo, just beat whoever's in front of you. And at the end of the day, don't you have to get a victory over the best players there anyway if you want to win the tournament? I actually agree with them to some degree. Yes, no matter what, you do have to get that dub. And I also feel like, you know, like in Intel World Open, I had to fight Shine early, and that's one of my main threats in that tournament. And I was able to get the win there, but this is before even top 8. But it felt like a weight off my shoulders with my next opponents, because he's so strong that I felt like the next people I was gonna have to play is like a step down, even though they're good players as well, right? So that's the flip side, like the good side of having to play a very strong opponent early on. But as far as seeding mattering, listen, we have Pro Tours nowadays, man. This isn't back in the day, put your quarter up, sucker, and all that. Shout out to Light Cheese. This is not put your quarter up and all that. We're playing for money, we're playing for CPT points and things like that. You know, there's stuff on the line. So even if you do not get first place, there's still money on how far you got.
The other places matter.
The other places still matter, and the narrative matters. If you're not first, you're last. It just sounds good when Ricky Bobby says it. Okay, like that.
People just want to beat their chest and sound tough, and that's people who are on the sidelines. It's always people who have no skin in the game who want to act the toughest about these things, and they always call out players like, oh, what's wrong with this seeding? Like, why am I seeded so low? Like, and versus, or my seed should be here, therefore my path makes more sense, and I don't have to play the best player right away. Oh, shouldn't you be the stronger player and beat them anyways? Well, sure, maybe, but do you want Daigo versus Tokido to happen in pools round 1, and then their next opponent is Fujimura? Right? And then that all happens off stream, and then the finals is going to be, you know, Punk versus Johnny Donuts, right? Is that what you want? Sure, maybe the best player wins the whole tournament, right? But then what does 2nd through 8 look like? Does it make any sense?
The tournament, no tournament is about one player. No tournament is about 2 players, 6 players, 8 players. They're all about the entire story. So if you take away any part of that experience, then the whole tournament suffers. So as you brought up, even if the best player wins, that doesn't mean it's going to be an overall enjoyable tournament. And, you know, when we just saw Punk versus Adam in NA East, the big showdown happening at the end, like, yo, you expect these players to make it, and then they fight at the end. That's a part of the fun and the excitement. And you know, Brian, outside of CPT points, man, outside of money, there's sponsors and stuff nowadays, bro.
It matters. And you know, I want
sponsors too.
Like the placing it's not only just the placing's important, bro. You know, people get salty when you tie for 5th if your name's not on top of the other person's in 5th, right? You both got 5th place. You want your name to be the first 5th, not the second. Oh,
you
5th.
Petty. Oh, I never thought of that. You are petty,
bro. I'm just telling
you. I've never thought about that. Yo, I respect that.
People try to act like that doesn't matter. Where your name shows up on that list of players, where they place, it matters.
You talking about when they like tweeted out and?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. You guys,
you cannot tell me that.
It looks like you placed lower than them.
Yeah, you didn't get 5th. You got 4.5. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You're a little bit higher.
So petty, bro.
Bro, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and so the narrative and stuff matter, bro. But so just overall, you know, the performances that you have. Look at Dual Kevin and CEO. You know, that's something I will always call back to, and I think that was 2019 or 2018, one or the other. I think it's 2019.
2019.
Yeah, but that performance he had, I think that he got 5th place actually, because he beat Ryusuke first. So he got 5th place there after he lost to Fudo. But that was a huge story. His name went up tremendously, and if he was seeded to fight Daigo in round 1 of pools, he might not have had that same story, and the FGC would have been missing that story, bro. So, of course, seeding does matter. Now, at the same time, if the seeding is not up to par when I play in a tournament, you're probably not gonna see me cry about it too much. Don't quote me on this, but I feel like I'm just kind of gonna just play it out regardless and just try to win.
There's definitely a stigma about it, but like I just want to point out there's 3 things we have to balance when having a good tournament, right? There's the competitive integrity of the event, right? Like, what is the best format to determine who's the best player? How can we make this the most competitive event possible? There's the fun factor for the viewers. Is this a good event that people want to partake in and they want to watch and they want to actually spectate this event? And then there's the logistics, right? Can we actually achieve this in a given time frame with these resources and get 500 people in and out of the venue in a weekend, right? So you're trying to balance these three factors. So I think if you compromise seating, you sacrifice those first two components. You sacrifice the competitive integrity, because places 2 through 8 don't matter anymore. If you throw seating out the window, there's just going to be one person who wins, and they're probably going to be one of the better players, but the rest of the results are going to get really weird, because you can potentially have players who are ranked 1 through 8 skill wise, right, based on lifetime performance. They could play each other in a row, and then the left half of the bracket is just like all bronze players. You could potentially end up with a situation like that. There's a reason we don't want that, because that means the competitive integrity is compromised, because the placings don't really represent or have very little correlation with people's actual skill level beyond maybe first place. And then also, people don't want to watch that. Like you mentioned, they want to see the final showdown to be a culmination of a lot of trials and tribulations and a storyline building up to that moment. Mm-hmm. You lose momentum in the story if people have to have these matches too early. You lose the Punk versus IDOM winners and grand finals run back if you make them play right away. So I feel like there's an OG attitude of like, seating doesn't matter. You should play in whatever conditions. Here's a bucket and there's a CRT that goes out every 5 seconds, and there's no audio. And if you plug in your stick to the PS4, sometimes it short circuits it. But whatever, man, don't worry about it. Just play through.
I remember
there's that mentality out there.
People were killing me when we went to final round, and there was no audio on any of the monitors, which I was used to there being audio at most majors or whatever. And I complained about it on Twitter. I was so mad. And people are like, what? If these players are becoming divas nowadays, and man, you guys
with that mentality.
Listen, bro, you would hate to read up on Bobby Fischer when he went like extra wild. Like, I ain't talking about later in his life, but early Bobby Fischer in his prime in chess, that dude was, if the lights are too hot, don't be taking pictures, so on and so forth. We're not even talking about all that. We're talking about the bare minimum, man. Can we get some audio? Can I hear the game? And can we get, a seeded tournament? One thing I will say,
demanding too much.
In defense of, bro, I need to take my bucket and CRT with a smile. But one thing I can say in defense of TOs when it comes to seeding is that there's always gonna be some type of just human bias. I don't know if I've been to too many premier events or ranking or premier events where I didn't notice any type of regional bias in a bracket. Like, I do feel like at a Midwestern event, for example, more people are gonna know fully what's going on with the guys in the bracket, so the seeding's gonna be better for them. Versus you go to a Southern event, they're gonna seed the Southern players better.
Yeah, and for regional events, 100%.
That 100%. always happens with the regionals, man. Just going straight off of CPT points alone
is not enough.
It's not enough. So you have to add that subjectivity.
I know some of the bracket runners and some of the seeding guys in the scene, so they're probably going to crucify me for if I don't clarify this. I'm not saying it's an easy job, and I'm not saying there's an objectively right way to do it. And I'm just saying we're just trying to make the discussion to raise awareness about it and talk about it. My main point is there's a bunch of OGs in the scene who will, if players complain about seeding, they'll take it as it being a diva. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think even if you don't know that you care, you care. Because trust me, when you see a tournament where things look a little weird and you go, oh, why didn't Tokido enter this tournament? And he did, but he lost to Daigo round 1, and then Daigo lost to Punk, and then so on and so forth, and then the bracket doesn't make any sense. You'll care then.